Hey everyone, my name is Catalyst. Welcome back to the channel. I hope you all are doing well. Today we are talking weapons, the best ones in fact in Battlefield 2042 now that Season 3 has launched. With the addition of the Season 3 weapons, there are now 33 primary weapons in the game, which means that we actually have a decent amount of weapons to cover today. In previous weapons videos, we've only done the 7 best weapons in the game, but now that DICE have added quite a few weapons with Seasons 2 and 3, we are going to bump that number up to the more stereotypical 10 best weapons in the game at the moment. Now, this isn't going to be a straight top 10 list. I'm going to put the weapons I consider to be in the top 10 in a rough order, because I do think that some weapons are better than others, but a lot of these weapons are interchangeable in their place, and I am going to do my best to explain why I feel these weapons are ones that you should consider using, as well as offer my preferred loadout for them, and try to do it in a timely manner too, so the video doesn't get to be too long. So without any further delay, let's get into the best weapons to use in Battlefield 2042 after the Season 3 update. To start the video today, we are going to take a quick moment to do some honorable mentions and talk about snipers and shotguns, because as some of you mentioned correctly, the last time we made a weapons list video, I kind of left them out. So just to make sure that we get them in today, let's start with shotguns. And don't worry, this video isn't going to be clips of me farming AI in co-op mode. I just didn't have any public lobby clips of me using shotguns because I have morals and don't use them. The best shotgun in the game, in my opinion, is the 12M Auto. I know it's just against AI, but it's pretty easy to see what there is to like about this shotgun. First and foremost, like the name suggests, the gun is full auto with a very nice rate of fire, and the range actually extends further than you might think for a shotgun. The gun does 6 damage with 16 pellets per shell that can reach all the way out to 100 meters, and even though realistically you'll never hit anybody out there, you can see how that translates to the 20 meter to 30 meter range where it actually has a fighting chance, which is great for a shotgun. What I also like about the 12M Auto is that ammo really is never a problem, because you tend to pick up the ammo packs that enemies drop more frequently when you kill them, because the range you fight at with the shotgun enables you to be so close to pick them up. As for snipers, I really like the Gold Magnum when I want to do some sniping. Statistically speaking, most of the snipers in Battlefield 2042 are the same, and the quote-unquote best sniper all comes down to personal preference and feel. Now, it is worth mentioning that prior to the Season 3 update, the SWS-10 one-shot kill to the body within 20 meters, which placed it ahead of the rest of the snipers for many players. That is no longer the case, so it really does now come down to personal preference and feel of the weapon, which for me, I think the Gold Magnum feels really good. It's very easy for me to get into a rhythm with it, and it feels very satisfying to use, and I cannot confirm this because DICE doesn't display bullet velocity in the statistics page, and I couldn't find it on Simthic, which is the site that I normally go to for weapon statistics, but it feels like the Gold Magnum does have a higher bullet velocity, which leads to less bullet drop, and the result is that the goal is a little easier to predict shots with. I don't know about you all, but sometimes I feel like the snipers in 2042 can be all over the place when it comes to how they perform, and I just don't get that feeling with the goal. Now, I know some people are going to mention this, but I do consider the Rorsch railgun to be a sniper more than I do an assault rifle, so it won't appear in the main list today. I did factor that into my selection for the best sniper rifle, however, and the truth of the matter is that I don't have enough experience with the railgun in order to place it comfortably in the top 10, even though I do think that it has some good qualities. And with that, let's move on to the main list of weapons. I think a good place to start would be with the A91, which, apart from the Gold Magnum, is the only vault weapon on the list today. Now, when I say vault weapon, that just means weapons that were in the portal mode that are now being ported over to the main game. It's the only vault weapon on the list because most of the weapons that get added from Portal to All Out Warfare are really underpowered in comparison to the launch weapons, but with that said, the A91 so far seems to be able to compete with some of the best weapons in the game. I think what holds some of the other Portal weapons back is the spread, especially on weapons like the AKS and the P90, but with the A91, the spread and recoil is very manageable to me. It's a 5-shot kill or 3 shots and a headshot up to 40 meters, where it drops to a 6-shot kill, but with an 800 round per minute rate of fire. And as I said, manageable recoil, it is a very effective weapon. It's a weapon that I find it easy to get headshots with as well, especially if you are using the 3x scope. I would compare it a lot to the M5A3. They do have a lot of similar attributes, but the A91 is not as good for one simple reason, and that is that the portal weapons are restricted in their attachments. They can only use the attachments that they have in portal, so the A91 is restricted in that way, while the M5A3 has multiple attachments that can be applied for multiple different playstyles. Still though, as it stands, the A91 is a nice off-meta pick that can more than hold its own. I run my A91 with a red dot sight, laser sight, and factory barrel. Next, we have the AC-42, which has made its return to being in the upper echelon of weapons in Battlefield 2042 with the most recent patch update. The main problem for me with the AC-42 and why it's not higher on the list is one of its biggest strengths just also happens to be one of its biggest weaknesses, and that is the bullet velocity of its 4-round burst. If you hit all the shots on your burst, this gun can absolutely put people down both quickly and effectively, especially if you hit headshots with a 2x headshot multiplier. Like, this is the ultimate mess around and find out weapon, even more so if you're a passive player. But if you miss, the way the meta currently is in Battlefield 2042 with ARs and long-range weapons being stronger, I feel like you need to hit your first burst if you stand a chance of winning, and sometimes the tight spread and the bullet velocity work against the AC-42 instead of working for it. It's a double-edged sword because on the one hand, if the spread and time between shots and the burst were just a tad slower and wider, then it would help in some situations where you're tracking a target and maybe you're not quite on the target. But on the other hand, the tight spread and bullet velocity is what makes the AC-42 be so good at times. I guess really the point is, if it hits, the gun is elite, but if you miss, the gun is a burden. I run my AC-42 with factory barrel, extended mag, BCG grip, and a red dot sight. Moving on to the first SMG on the list, we have the PBX. I find the PBX to be one of the most underrated weapons in the game. It really surprised me when using it just how effective this weapon can be, specifically in the mid-range, even though it's billed as the do-everything SMG. The PBX is a weapon that I feel has always been overlooked, and not without reason, but I think this weapon now really fits nicely into the meta. It's a weapon that really excels when you can pre-aim with it and laser people with very controllable recoil. It also has the ability to reach up to 850 rounds per minute and is a 4-shot kill within 10 meters, which after it jets out to 5 shots until 35 meters, where it becomes a 6-shot kill. Now, my one knock against this weapon is that sometimes I feel like I can get screwed over by spread at those longer ranges. I feel like this weapon has the tendency to do really well with the initial 5 to 6 shots, and then the spread makes finishing the kill a little bit inconsistent, but it's because the PBX is so accurate and easy to control at first that it becomes so good when you can pre-aim with it. You are landing 4 out of the 5 shots you need to kill consistently, and that's without hitting any headshots, so it's a very reliable SMG. There are just others I prefer over it. I run my PBX loadout with a red dot sight, tactical compensator for increased accuracy, the extended standard mag, and BCG light grip. Keeping up with the trend of mid-range warriors, let's talk about the AM40. This gun was absolutely awful when it released, and I mean absolutely dreadful, partially because DICE being DICE, they bugged out the headshot multiplier, but with that being said, now I think this is the king of the mid-range when it comes to assault rifles in Battlefield 2042. I think a good way to view the AM40 is a slightly more versatile PBX with a much better headshot multiplier, since all assault rifles in the game get a 2x headshot multiplier. It does have a faster rate of fire than the base PBX as well, coming in at 850 rounds per minute, and is a 5-shot kill up to 40 meters. The recoil can be a little difficult on the AM40 at times, but that doesn't stop the gun from being a nice aggressive option in the assault rifle category. I would also note that the iron sights on the AM40, I actually really enjoy them and think they are among the better iron sights in the game. I run my AM40 with either iron sights or a red dot sight, the drum magazine, factory barrel, or champion muzzle brake, and BCG light grip. Moving on to the only LMG on the list, we have the Avancys. Released during Season 2, this is without a doubt the best LMG in the game at the moment, and it's for good reason because this thing absolutely puts them down. It's a 4-shot kill out to 20 meters, and just to put that in perspective, this is how far away 20 meters is. This is about the typical range that you will have a gunfight in Battlefield 2042. I'd say anywhere between 20 to 30 meters, and the Avancys 4 shots to the body ability out to that range. 750 rounds per minute, 200 rounds, and a 4-shot kill out to the most common engagement distance in the game. Why is this not the best weapon in the game? Well, because all light machine guns in Battlefield 2042 have a sprint to fire delay of 1 second. So if you are ever running with an LMG and you see somebody and you aim at them and you're wondering why your gun's not firing, that would be the reason why. So like most LMGs in the game, you need to be pre-aimed and ready to go with the Avancys at all times, or at the very least pre-aiming while walking. The penalty for the Avancys is that you need to sacrifice your mobility, and with how many guns in this game can absolutely delete slow-moving targets and stationary targets, it puts itself in a weird spot where clearly you can recognize how strong this weapon is, but it takes some getting used to, getting in the right positions to use it effectively as you want to. It certainly helps when you're using McKay as your specialist because of the enhanced strafe speed, but you know, sometimes you don't want to use McKay as your specialist. Anyways, I run my Avancys with the extended mag, red dot sight, and BCG grip. These next few weapons on the list I would consider to be interchangeable as the best weapons in the game on any given day, so from now on there is no real order. I'm just going to be going in the order that I wrote them down. The next weapon on the list is the PP29, which is without a doubt my favorite weapon in the game. This is the gun that just clicks for me. This is my farm gun. It feels really good to me. This is the gun I pick out when I just want to relax and have a good time. Even though the PP29 doesn't have the insane 2-shot headshot range anymore that it used to, this gun still is able to compete at longer ranges with an insane 5-shot kill out to 75 meters. I think the main attraction for me though, and it has been, it always will be, the 75 round magazine that you get with the base kit. Reloading is just not something that you have to worry about with the PP29, so this is the quintessential objective clear, and the rate of fire is just in the right spot so you don't burn through your ammo too quickly on flanks. The PP29 fires at 750 rounds per minute with the standard issue magazine, which is only 50 rounds per minute slower than the PBX's standard rate of fire, just for comparison's sake. I also really enjoy the recoil pattern that you have when you put the champion muzzle brake on. It gives you better vertical recoil control to help with the initial kick of the PP29, but since the PP doesn't have bad horizontal recoil, the pattern is mostly straight up and easy to control. I run my PP29 with an apertured sight, standard issue rounds, and a champion muzzle brake. Moving on down the list, we have the SFAR, or the SCAR, which has been considered by many to be the best weapon in the game for a couple of months now, just because of the ridiculous damage that the SCAR can put out at longer ranges. It has a 4-shot kill out to 75 meters when using the high power or high power drum mag. This gun can absolutely melt people if they get caught out in the open and if your aim is good enough to kill them, and it also offers some versatility with a faster rate of fire 30 round magazine option if you're playing in some tighter quarters. You do not want to meet a SCAR player on a head glitch. I would not advise it. It's just plain not good for you. Like, I'm sure that your doctor would agree with me. If you need to play slow or have a slow playstyle, this is the weapon of choice for you, and that's even before we talk about the grenade launcher that comes automatically equipped on it. It can dominate medium-range gunfights if you are on a head glitch, and the grenade launcher does help as well, especially against vehicles if you run the AP rounds. The recoil and spread can be pretty nasty on this gun, so I would suggest running the ARCOM Tactical Muzzle Brake, which improves the horizontal recoil and makes the SCAR's recoil far more vertical and easy to control, because otherwise the SCAR can wobble a bit and lose control. My loadout for the SCAR is a red dot sight, ARCOM Muzzle Brake, high power drum magazine, and standard issue magazine with AP rounds, frag rounds, and smoke grenades in the grenade launcher. Moving on now to the MP9, which is what I use when I need to kill a lot of enemies and need to do it very quickly. The MP9 has received a handful of nerfs in the last month or so, but it still is, for my money, one of the best SMGs in the game, if not the best SMG in the game. The MP9 is a 5-shot kill up to 30 meters and 6 shots up to 50 meters. In combination with the close combat rounds, the MP9 can reach up to 900 rounds per minute, which is only behind the K30 in terms of rate of fire for the SMG class. You will be reloading relatively frequently, and ammo can become an issue with the MP9, but even still, this is the best SMG in the game for uber aggressive playstyles. It's also quite small, so it doesn't take up more of your screen, which allows you to see more on the battlefield, which is something that I can appreciate. The recoil can be difficult to manage on the MP9, but the MP9 also has pretty good hip fire, so you don't necessarily need to ADS with it in order to get results, and there definitely is reason behind having a laser sight hipfire MP9 class. The MP9 has multiple extended mag options past the base 20 rounds, and this enables you to be a real nuisance on flanks. Again, this is the gun that can put enemies down very quickly on the flank, and is the weapon that I switch to when I need to get sweaty and carry a team in the backpack. I run my MP9 with the factory barrel, red dot sight, close combat drum mag, and laser sight. Heading over to the DMR category, we have the only DMR on the list, and that is the BSV-M, which has been one of the best guns in the game since it came out in Season 1. And even though it's been a little bit forgotten about now that there's a bunch of new weapons in the game that have been added, I am here to tell you, do not forget about the BSV-M, because it will shock you how strong this gun still is. The biggest strength of the weapon is clearly the fact that you can fire the weapon in full auto, and with a 3-shot kill to the body range that reaches out to 50 meters, this gun can delete enemy players in the blink of an eye. The only thing that is holding the gun back from being the bona fide best weapon in the game is the ammo count and the spread while firing in full auto. This is one of the guns that I think you have to consider running an ammo crate with or playing as Angel, because you will be reloading often and in need of ammo if you find yourself on a streak. I think I die more because I run out of ammo with the BSV-M more than I die because I lose a gunfight with it. When it gets to those medium long range engagements, say 40 to 50 meters, sometimes the spread from firing full auto can screw you over and you will lose gunfights because of it, but when the gun is hitting, it is hard to stop. Another strength of the BSV-M is that it is a marksman rifle that can be converted into an assault rifle, and depending on the situation, while the close combat rounds are definitely not as strong as the high power marksman rounds, they are still a luxury to have in a game that can be extremely unpredictable at times. My loadout for the BSV-M is the hybrid 1.5 3x sight, so I can switch between a red dot and an ACOG sight, the short barrel, both high power extended magazines, and then close combat rounds with the BCG light grip. And finally on the list today, we have the M5A3, which may surprise you, but I'm finding it really hard not to put it in the #1 spot in the game at the moment because it just doesn't have many weaknesses because it is so versatile. You can run it as more of a traditional assault rifle, you can run it as a hybrid, you can run it as an SMG, and because of the plus system, you can do it all at once. The base M5A3 fires at 750 rounds per minute and can get as high as 910 rounds per minute with the shortened barrel and close combat rounds, and it is a 5-shot kill up to 30 meters. I think where the weapon gets beaten out is definitely in those longer ranges where the SCAR is king, but there are times when you use this weapon and you shoot at somebody a fair distance away and the spread and recoil is so manageable that you end up beaming them, and you honestly become a little bit surprised at how well this gun does at those ranges. It has a recoil pattern that I think most people will find relatively easy to control, and as I said earlier, there are so many ways to run the M5 and do well with it. This is an absolute laser beam at all ranges. It can beat out the MP9 at close range. Apart from the AM40, it dominates medium ranges, and it can compete with the SFAR at long ranges in the hand of the right player. I run my M5A3 with a shortened barrel, aperture sight, extended standard mag or close combat round, and BCG light grip. And that is the end of the video, ladies and gentlemen. Those are 10 or so weapons that I would consider to be the best in the game after the Season 3 update. What weapon do you guys enjoy using the most after the update? Let me know in the comment section down below if you agree or disagree with me. If you liked the video, please leave a like, and if you enjoyed it just that much, consider subscribing. Be on the lookout for the Specialist Rankings video coming later this weekend. Once again, thank you so much for watching. My name is Catalyst, and I will see you all another time.